wonder if other factors are at play. Let's go to market watcher Scott Bauer. Scott, what's going on here? What's prompting this selling?
You know, it's more uncertainty, right? We get past the Fed decision and the rhetoric yesterday, and now all of a sudden we have more uncertainty into the marketplace. So, you know, Neil, much like how the market has been trading over the last, let's say, 2 to 4 months on risk headlines, there's just more risk headlines now. And the first thing that people are doing, that investors are doing, and money managers and everyone is doing, is pushing the sell button because the market does not like uncertainty. And, you know, God knows we are full of uncertainty right now.
When you talk about uncertainty, do you have any doubts about the strength of the recovery? Because we always hear, you know, officials that whatever you want to say about the uncertainty of a government shutdown, whether the Fed is going to make it 2 or 3 rate hikes next year, the underlying economy, the underlying earnings environment is still sound and stable. Are you of that mindset?
You know, I really am, and maybe now that's going into the contrarian camp a little bit, because you have all of these CEOs coming out and all of these economists coming out saying, no, we've got this major slowdown, which we do, but the economic numbers that keep coming out are strong. They're not as robust as they were 3 months, 6 months ago, but there is such a solid foundation right now economically. We'll see how that translates, Neil, into the next earnings season, which really begins in about 2 weeks. And we'll see how, if some of this slowdown that we've experienced is already, you know, encumbered into the numbers that are reporting, but maybe more importantly, what do the CEOs think about the rest of 2019? But I got to be honest, I look at these numbers, they're pretty good.
All right. I want to bring in Vince Colonnese here, the Daily Caller editorial director. And Vince, I was talking to a number of conservative leaders who were saying they're very concerned the president is losing some of his conservative support. They point to more anecdotal evidence than substantive, but the president's decision to pull our troops out of Syria, whether you like that or not, this mixed message we're getting on border wall funding, again, whether you like that or not, even on the shutdown issue, but that the president isn't, you know, embracing a lot of them, and they're worried that he's going to lose a lot of them. What do you think?
I think that's right. This week, more so than any other week of Trump's presidency, has been a warning shot across the bow to the president from his base, especially among his most vocal supporters. It's basically a reminder, remember why you're there. This is a guy who was elected not to be a politician, not to be absorbed into the swamp. And I think you have conservative supporters of the president this week who are looking at what he's up to and saying, I think you're getting tugged in the wrong direction, and you need to remember why you're there, especially on this wall thing. This wall fight is quintessential, Neil. It is the premier promise the President of the United States made, and I've heard more than a few conservative supporters of the President say this is his read my lips moment. He committed to this. And I can't tell you, I don't even think it's possible to count how many chants we heard at Trump rallies across the country from the moment he started running for office all the way through his time in office saying build the wall. It is a loud, resounding declaration of intent from his base, and now is his moment to get it. If he doesn't, I think the punting is really going to get to them.
Yeah, you might be right on that. The politics aside, though, Scott, I'm wondering, given the fall-off in the market, and we've been whipping through the major averages that are down from the Dow to the S&P about 14-15% from highs. The NASDAQ in and out of bear market territory was off more than 20% briefly today, now just shy of that. But bottom line, I'm wondering, when you look at all of this, whether the sell-off is potentially overdone, whether you think these markets have become more affordable, that you should buy. What do you do?
So, Neil, let's take a more macro look at this, a little longer term look, right? Everybody likes to look at what is happening today, what's happening this year. When you look at the last 10 years, the last 20 years, even of let's say, the S&P market, this is not abnormal, what we are experiencing right now. Yes, if you break it down into a 1 month or 3 month or 6 month time frame, yes, we have this volatility, we have this sell-off. This is just the market correcting itself for right now. I truly believe this is a place to start picking at some really oversold names. I'm not saying go in full out right now, because in this type of marketplace, that's the last thing you want to do. But these levels here, we are oversold, and there are certain areas here that if you have some patience and not just looking at your portfolios day to day, I truly believe you're going to come out on top.
Vince, the president has very much bragged about the market run up under his watch, kind of pointing fingers at the downdraft since. How much is this market attached to him, for good or bad?
No, I think it must be, given that the market's temperamental. I rely on you and the great reporters of the Fox Business Network to tell me generally how to follow these things. But I can say this, watching this Federal Reserve announcement this week, it does leave me puzzled as an economic layman that when you have inflation as low as it is, unemployment at the levels that they are, why we're seeing an interest rate bump right now. It just seems like it's working against the interests, ultimately, of steady American success. And is why the President of the United States regularly tweets to this effect, who basically expresses his frustration that we seem to be headed in the right direction, and then the Fed comes along and throws a little shade on the party.
Yeah, that's probably an understatement. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both